Kiran, hello. Thank you very much for joining us in the AWS for Data show. I know it's raining outside when we were commuting. Kiran and I, we are coming from the same place, Northampton. I never took the lesson of carrying an umbrella while coming to office in London. I've been working for more than 10 years here. I got drenched. But anyway, we're all dried up now. We can start the podcast. Thank you very much. Kiran, as the CTO of Cutover, how do you see, with the rapid pace of technology evolution, how do you see Cutover evolving, and what excites you in the data and AI space?
I suppose you mentioned it. It's AI at the moment, web du jour. I think I'm really excited about what the software team at Cutover can do. We've got agents coding, agents on our CI, and what we can do internally with our product. So we've got Cutover Suggest, Create, and Improve. What we can do with those products for our customers, and then also what our customers are doing with agentic AI. So in the SRE space and the incident space, how they're using AI agents to get information to their users quicker so we can all make better decisions. It's a really exciting time.
It's exciting, isn't it? Like agentic AI is for 2025. So Elad, leading growth and customer adoption in Cutover. What excites you most in the data and AI space, and how do you see growth for Cutover?
Thanks for the question. So I'm super excited about the use of agentic AI for our customers within the realms of migrations and incident response. The reason why I'm so excited about it is because, as Kieran mentioned, we have the structure of the runbook. So the tasks capture all the data, timestamps, who the task is assigned to. But in agentic AI, an agent for AI could go into a user's or enterprise's state and give you really, really crisp insights about how to resolve an incident, how to migrate faster. I'm super excited about seeing that in production and adoption by our customers.
That's great. So let's just look at the business landscape of it, right? Cutover orchestrates mission critical DR, operations and migration stuff. As the CTO, what do you see are the major technical challenges when you try to build a feature which is based on AI?
So I think to give that some context, with our Migrate product, it's all about moving things from A to B. With our Recover product, it's moving things from A to B. And that requires a lot of data and a lot of process and a lot of knowledge. We have a product that we call Metastore, where that allows us to aggregate the variables and the data that we think you need to achieve either of those outcomes. We think there's about 80 to 100 variables that you need to capture, sort of the app name, the app owner, line of business, where it's hosted, so that you can make that decision of what you're going to do. And that's a big challenge architecturally, because we need to be flexible enough to fetch data that's both design time, so who owns the app, where it is, how you're going to fail it over, or where you're going to migrate it to. And then the runtime data, what capacity is it currently using, how many servers has it got, what bandwidth does it need, what sovereignty requirements are currently in use. And then you need to put all of that data together flexibly and then execute quickly. In a migration, you want to do it quickly. And in a recovery, you might even have a regulatory pressure that you have to recover that application in a certain time frame. So it makes for a fun challenge.
Absolutely. I intentionally pinned this question here because we start talking about AI, and then we start talking about challenges, the disparate data sources, the integration, the curation of data is what I think 70 to 80% of the work is, right? And it's really iterating this message that yes, AI is great, agentic AI can do a lot of stuff this promise, but the data piece needs to be solved first, right? The challenges around that. Thank you for that. So Elad, from your perspective, right?
Yeah.
How do you take all of these technical complexities that Kiran deals with and simplify that in a language that your customers could understand and understand the value prop of these features that you're releasing?
To me, it's very simple. When you're thinking about a migration, all of AWS's customers, for example, want to migrate to the cloud. They want to do it fast. So if we save you half of the time, half of the resources with automation and runbooks, and you get to the cloud that much faster, how much value does that unlock for you? How much is it worth for you money-wise, right? Think about all the spend that you have on your on-prem data centers, what you pay your SIs to get you to the cloud. If I can cut that journey down by half, super powerful. For the other use cases like incident response and recovery, it's the cost of downtime. So you're an enterprise and you're making $5 billion a quarter, and 80% of it is coming from 100 critical applications. And if those are down, what happens to your business? So if I can ensure by the use of Cutover that you as a customer are going to have 30% less downtime or recover quicker from incidents and resolve that downtime, how much is it worth to you? It's billions.
This is a really big space, right? I talk to enterprises and customers day in and day out, and I see that they are trying to solve these kind of challenges. And this is where Cutover can come in and actually solve these problems, right? So I think that's a really good space that you're working in, and there's a good space to be in. So Kieran, you insisted that AI is not a bolt-on; it's baked in your product, and I'm sure it's baked in your culture in your organization now, the way you work. Technically speaking, how do you turn these static checklists into dynamic AI-driven workflows? What goes behind that?
Ever since we started Cutover, it was that journey. How do you take the best of human flexibility with the best of what computing can do, which is rapid, always-on automations, whether that's deterministic software that was doing it or now moving to AI. It gets to be really interesting. The problem we used to have with deterministic software is if we take a simple sequence that you've coded in and it sort of goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, the software won't know what to do when it reaches 5. A human obviously knows that I was counting and will think 5, 6, 7 and can predict the sequence. And where we are with AI now is we get the premise that when I studied at university, it was all about fuzzy logic. And are we now there with LLMs where an AI-driven software where we do get that ability to have less deterministic inputs? So that but it causes a mindset shift, which is where you then need humans to back check things, because when we had older software, you knew for this set of inputs, you'd get this set of outputs. With AI, you can give it the same set of outputs, and 90% of the time, you'll get this set of outputs. But the other 10% of the time, the AI might just stop or give you something completely wild. So building in that trust becomes really interesting. And we've always thought that with Cutover. Is there any difference with somebody in a command center failing over an application that they don't really know about at 3 a.m. on a Friday night, and asking a remote team to fail it over, to asking deterministic software or asking agentic software? They're none the wiser. They just want to know, has it failed over? And hopefully we can make that as exciting as turning on and off a light switch, but we've got a little way to go, unfortunately, until it's that easy.
Yeah, I mean, AI has all the hype, but when you actually start building stuff, you understand that there are actually really difficult challenges that you need to solve for, and there are trade-offs that you need to make, and those trade-offs, like 10% of the outcomes that you mentioned might not be the same every time. Then how do you play around that just to make sure that production grade systems can still rely on deterministic outputs, right? Talking about hype, that I'm sure you're focused on customer adoption, talking to customers. Everyone knows that AI is hyped in social media, news, etc. And then there is speculation. There's speculation around would the technology work? It throws out, it hallucinates. Would it take away jobs, etc., etc. Right? There's so many concerns around AI. How do you take all of these things and then present a compelling and credible case to your customers, so to grow adoption?
To us, we can divide the answer to a number of areas. First of all, what is the value of the product? And I think to build on Kieran's point, it's about the trust and it's about speed. If you can combine the two, it becomes super powerful. So if I'm in an incident or a migration and I can see what the agent did and the steps that the agent took are laid out and are captured in a runbook with a task and a timestamp, and I can have other tools in my estate and humans, people that are working in the company, reacting and responding to those and validating those steps. Super powerful, right? It's taking a lot of insights from many different places, putting them in one place, and it's like you have an audit trail and also an execution path. That's great. And we discussed earlier about the financial value of that. So that is the next way to look at that, or another lens on that, another prism on that. It's for the customers, they're looking for ways to recover quicker, reduce downtime, or get to the cloud faster. And the use of Runbooks with AI unlocks all those things and just reduces errors and increases speed. Now, you're absolutely right. The hype is risky, right? An agent could go rogue in an org, and how do you know? And to Kieran's point, that's exactly where we use the power of Runbooks and humans to determine whether the inputs are correct or not. It's about how you combine them.
I see human in the loop patterns are so for me, like today, for most of the use cases, human in the loop is the only way to take AI to production. It is much talked about. I think one of the challenges that you need to solve with human in the loop is the interaction. So human interaction with AI. Is that something you have been working on? Is it a challenge that you have seen, or how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, you want to take that?
Yes, I think it's building on trust. So I've just written a blog post on Cutover's piece, and it's interesting how we interact with AI versus how we interact with less experienced members of the team. I think we set the bar incredibly high for AI. Like you said, it's potentially overhyped, but I think it's growing linearly. So I think it's overhyped, coming up, and we're now dipping down a little bit, and it's not, but actually it's getting better. And how do you start with that trust piece, which is AI starts up here, it goes wrong, and we suddenly lose all confidence in it. When we're looking at a human employee, we're like, oh, you've gone wrong. Here's how we course correct, build up trust, course correct, build up trust. And at the minute, we overtake with the human, but aren't going back to the AI because we've not sort of reinforced what it's doing, learn what its peculiarities are, and learn to accept that range of output. And we all get frustrated with that sort of saying of computer says no. AI software probably won't do that. The problem with AI-driven software is it's always confident. And is it confidently correct or confidently wrong? Maybe we need a bit of a back check at the minute. And so it's going to be, again, interesting times.
Let me give you another perspective. So forget AI for a second. Before AI, a customer is migrating to the cloud and they want to do it fully automated, right? We learned that even in those instances without AI, you still want a human in the loop. If you have an app and suddenly gets moved to the cloud, you want to be able to say, I do, I accept, I agree, I'm aware of it. You're thinking about the resilience of your application or how it is used by your users. You want to know that something like that happened.
Mm-hmm.
You add in AI, and then potentially you get more insights, but at the same time, more complexity. And you want to validate the quality of those inputs that you're getting from AI. So the need for a human in the loop becomes greater and greater, right? It was always there, and now it's just growing.
Okay, that assures that we will have our jobs.
I think
right.
One of our board members put the challenge when we did the initial demo and said, but if it was my database system was down, Kieran, I'd just phone up the person that owns the database. And I went, yeah, I agree. But why wouldn't you do both? The advantage of having AI and software is it's cheap to run and always available. And therefore, why wouldn't you do both? Because as humans, we have that. If somebody phones me up at 3 a.m. and says, why is the database down? You're going to have a recency bias. And you'll know the last 3 changes intimately. Most incidents are caused by change, we all know that. But an AI can look back quickly over the previous 50 changes and start to think, is it a pattern? Is it something like that? So augment with both. The human's still there. You are still going to phone them up for critical workloads, and hopefully free up the human of spending an awful lot of time looking at the previous 50 changes. And we can look at software to do that, whether it's AI or just ordinary software.
Yeah, I think, and the other advantage is if you can cut down some of these mundane tasks that engineers,
Yeah.
support people have to do, they can do more. So, for example, if I can automate a lot of my tasks that I do day in, day out in terms of admin and things like that, I can go and potentially talk to more customers like you, right? And understand what problems you're facing, right? And try to solve them and think about them. So that really opens up possibilities of doing more rather than just thinking about cutting costs or being more productive, right?
And it's those road upgrades, like you say, our development team, where they found AI to be useful, is just in things that I say, completely below the waterline. So Java upgrades, Ruby upgrades, patching Linux images.
Yeah.
Customers, there's no value to the customer
Yeah.
with those things. There is if we don't do them. Quality is only obvious in its absence. And if we don't do those things, you're susceptible to a security breach. And if you lose your data, you'd lose trust from your human customers. So we've got to make sure we stay on top of those things, and AI can definitely help there.
Absolutely. So talking about data, right? How do you ensure that all of the data and the insights that you generate from that data through your product are actually delivering customer success?
We measure a few things, and a shout out to what Bedrock's enabled us here, and the agility it's enabled us to experiment with different models and keep our customers' data within their VPCs. But how do we validate the outcome? I suppose we've mentioned human in the loop, but looking at what metrics we can help reinforce. For us, most of our use cases are about time and timeliness of data and fetching data at the right time. And so they're the main things that we concentrate on from a metrics point of view.
Nice. I do see this as a pattern. Like the having access to real time data really changes the game for agents, especially, right? Because otherwise, a lot of this business value diminish if you can't do real time. That's why like all of this tool integration, like a model context protocol, and these standards are coming across, and everyone is resonating. I mean, I totally see this market fit for these kind of integration protocols.
I think on our recovery piece, all of our customers have an ITSM system, but if I do a straw poll of them and say, how much trust have you got in the data in your ITSM system? Unless there was a recent test, the data's drifted. And therefore, they want to get that design time data that was in the ITSM system. And really, it's just a signpost as to where we could be. And if it was an application, if we look at recovery, your data in your CMDB will be perfect the day after you've last done your annual test. If you're 364 days away from that last annual test, the data in CMDB might very well have changed, and you need to get that runtime data and get the timeliness of data and correct.
Elad, would you want to add your opinion on the customer success piece? Like what I'm thinking is, yes, there's data, there's AI, and all of this bundled into your product features, right? And how do you actually ensure that all of this, high quality data actually informs the insights that you generate to drive then customer success from your perspective?
I'll give you two examples.
Yeah.
So one, going back to what Kieran said about CMDB data, right? Today, estates became more and more complex. So you think about your apps and your servers, all the dependencies. The data in real time, what's happening with them, sits across different systems. Some of it could be in CloudWatch, Dynatrace, Datadog, New Relic, AppDynamics, ServiceNow, Remedy, other systems, right? And what you want to be able to do with the help of Cutover is to reach out to all those agents in all those systems and inform what is happening with a specific piece of infra when you want to recover it, or there's an incident around it, or you want to migrate it. those insights become super valuable. And you can't rely on one source. So the use of Cutover, first and foremost, helps users get that data in a trusted way faster to their fingertips when they're about to execute a critical action. The second thing is, because we work in the enterprise space, we've built a data lake of north of 100,000 executed runbooks in the enterprise space. So we know how to build a runbook for those specific goals that I mentioned, be it a migration or recovery or incident response. And with AI Improve built on AWS Bedrock, I can give you a really good recommendation how to improve that runbook. So back in the day, we used to spend a lot of time, or customers used to spend time with SIs to perfect the runbook. But now we can shorten that time because we can look at patterns across your org and across anonymized data in a data lake and give you better insights.
That's nice. That's nice. So let's understand it a bit from the user experience perspective, right? So explain to me what happens. What is the customer experience like? What do they do with the runbooks?
Yeah, so I'll start right at the start. We deal with large enterprises predominantly. So if you've got an app estate of 4,000 applications, that's a lot to get going. So how do I even get started? So using Metastore, we can hook up and suggest a template for that application. Or we can just start and allow you the psychological safety to create. So again, this is where AI becomes interesting, because if we ask somebody, show me your resiliency plan for this application, if it's not a critical application and it's more lowly ranked, there might not be a plan, or it's a very rudimentary plan of turn it on and off again, or use the sort of Phoenix project, go and phone Brent and ask him to sort it out on a Friday night. Cutover's AI Create allows you to ingest that unstructured data, so whether it's in Confluence, Twikis, Excel sheets, Word documents, and take that unstructured plan and at least get you started, which we're finding we're all good at critiquing something. Once there's a straw man up, humans are good at critiquing it. We don't like critiquing other people's work because we're worried about offending somebody, but critiquing AI's work, yeah, we're quite happy. So I think there's a nice piece of psychological safety there that we can get to a better plan that people are all happy with and get started quickly.
And we can augment this template creation, runbook creation with our own data as well.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. So one of the things that I talk to a lot of software companies and startups, the pricing strategy becomes tricky with AI, right? Because how do you charge customers? Is it based on outcomes that you deliver? Is it based on API calls? Some API calls might not deliver the expected answer. They might need to iterate. So how does it work? So what happens in your case? Like what is your pricing strategy with your features?
To be honest, we're still learning. And the way to learn for us is, first of all, existing customers, we find a way to include it in our licenses. And then we'll have an add-on pricing for new customers with 3 tiers based on usage. We try to keep it broad so we can learn. And hopefully next year we'll have better adoption, better patterns emerging from that. Maybe we can inform our pricing for AI in a better way.
Thinking from the product development perspective, right? So there's this pricing, but then there's again, you have this product, you are learning from the experiences, talking to customers, and then building this roadmap and to be releasing new features. I see, and because we in AWS deal with a lot of products, we have our products, and I see there's we use huge amount of data to inform product roadmap decisions. Do you do the same? How do you work with data as such that provides insight to improve or evolve your product?
Very much so. So we try to keep Cutover simple. So one of our product managers, he's definitely very ruthless in how he looks at feature adoption. And if it doesn't work, before he adds a new feature, he'll try and remove an old feature so that we can keep the product simple so that it's easy to use. So very data driven in how we use and develop new product and what we can do to help deliver customer outcomes. So I think it's an interesting space.
Yeah. So product launch or feature launch is one piece, right? So once the feature launches, I think, Elad, you need to then rally around sales, marketing, adoption teams, partner teams to kind of see how you can grow customer adoption of those features. Does data play a role in that?
I'll give you a real life example. We are recently launched a new product for incident response, right? And there's a lot of new features that go along with that. And the way to do it, as Kieran says, we have customers using it, so we get data from that, and we use that to inform the roadmap. At the same time, you want to have top of funnel data from talking to prospects, talking to partners. What do they say? Where's the signal? Where's the market going? And you're trying to constantly hone in your value proposition and find your sweet spot or your product market fit in the market. And then rallying everybody around it is a given, right? We usually like to experiment quickly. We start small in one team, but then quickly we basically drag everybody along. And now we're at a point that the whole company is behind the new product and we're trying to learn quickly. So we get together regularly. There's some data that comes in through different sources from the product, from the funnel. And then we have meetings so we can decipher that in a good way, because you got to understand which customer said what or what pattern of usage to really make a good decision based on the data you see.
I kind of sit in my role. I kind of sit in between like the engineers and the sellers, and we use a huge amount of data. So like for me, I collect information from customers like you on our products and go to the service team and say, this is what's working, this is what's not working, and there's a mechanism to log all of this information, right? And on the other side, when we sell, we need to check customer adoption rates, which products are working, which features are working, and all of this need huge amount of data, and that itself within the organization becomes a platform of thinking, okay, how do we bring this data together, how do we combine reports, how do we generate insights that actually help us, right? So that's really interesting, and it's basically I'm a lot more interested in how internal dynamics in organizations work with data. And that also brings to another critical piece is the technology choices. So the data and AI, don't talk to me about AI, like the number of AI tools we see in the internet today doing a lot of this, like similar blog writing, this kind of creation of videos and et cetera, et cetera. But, even in the data space, right, there are myriad of tools and technologies. What are your when you have to select a technology or tool to do your stuff, what are the non-negotiable criteria that you look for in a product before you make the choice?
Security is job zero, and that very much is the driving force in our tool selection. So making sure that the data governance and security, we can follow it through and trace it. I think the reason I was comfortable adopting Bedrock so quickly, there's a fantastic video from Reinforce, I think it was 2023, where they show how Bedrock's secured underneath using KMS. And so it's like we've got very trusted, battle-hardened technology that is securing the data, and it wasn't something new. Shout out to that video, actually. I think it's the best 3-minute explanation I've seen of envelope encryption with KMS that we've used more broadly, even outside of AI. That was the non-negotiable for us. Our customers are predominantly banks, heavy interpretations of GDPR, so we had to be really sure of where the data is, what it's being used for, and those concerns.
I'll add to that I think internally at Cutover, we care about security, of course, and productivity. So the use of AI tools is to drive more productivity in our work. For our customers, we're happy to be led by them. So it's about what is the use case or the product the customer is using, what are they trying to solve, and what AI tools can help them get better insights to do it better, faster, less errors. These are the tools we'll integrate with.
So to expand on that, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of customers building their own stuff. What you're selling, a lot of customers would, well, I say a lot, lesser number of customers would try to build their own stuff. And we always see with products, right? So the customers have a buy versus build choice. How do you balance that? Like when you talk to customers and you talk about the out of the box features that you provide versus what they are building, maybe they're building a RAG pipeline, right, within their enterprise. So how do you balance that conversation?
So I'll let Kieran expand in a second, but from my perspective, we're agnostic to that. We're very flexible. We have an open API. We can integrate with any endpoint. We can deploy it in many different types of environments. We're used to working in the enterprise space where security is a huge concern. So even before AI, we came across customers that want to protect their data in a certain way and put it behind the firewall and give us some pieces of data or endpoints and use our APIs. That's okay. We know how to work with that. Well, now when you add in AI tools, MCP, RAG pipelines, it doesn't change the picture for us. We're just flexible as we were a year ago, and we can integrate with those tools and let the customer choose their own architecture. I don't know if Kieran, if you want to.
Yeah, I suppose just our customer base. Some of our customers have been around centuries. So since the dawn of computing and technology, let alone the dawn of AI. So we have to be agnostic. They have different data sources. Even if we just take a simple example of a bank acquiring smaller banks, there's going to be different systems. We can take something as simple as just identity authentication systems. There's, as you say, myriad of tools. It's probably a myriad of SSO providers in some of our customers. So single sign-on, but multiple single sign-on systems. And what you don't want to have to do is present a user with, were you here when the bank got acquired in 2009, 2010, or 2015? And just dealing with that sort of disparate system means Cutover has to be agnostic. So back to our architecture, it needs to be flexible to cope with that complexity. We don't want to have to run a transformation project for an enterprise that's 300,000 people because that would be multi-year. So by being agnostic, I'm a big fan of almost the do nothing scripting, which is just document your process, which is, as you say, a basic checklist potentially. How do you do this? How do you log in? And then move towards basic automation, AI automation, fully automation, so we can get rid of that piece of work. So it's good.
Nice. So we talked about the technical challenges, the product development processes using data, pricing strategy, and tool selection. So bringing all of them together, like what measuring outcome that you deliver to your customers. Like one of the things that I feel is really important with AI, especially, is choosing the right metrics to show the real outcome, either is to internally to your organizations, different departments, or to your customer. So what are the metrics that you use to measure them?
I'll just give a quote from one of our customers. So this was their words to their team of use Cutover, get your weekends back. Now that feels like quite a great metric to be able to meet. So I think I've mentioned Friday night, doing migrations, doing incidents in odd hours. So getting your weekends back is a great one. What's the underlying metric on that? It's rehearsing and being able to execute a runbook successfully and reliably. If it just works, that becomes one of my favorite quotes is process should be what you use in an emergency, not the first thing that goes out the window in an emergency. And if you've drilled and executed a runbook and you are comfortable with that process, hopefully in the event of an incident or a migration, which are stressful, you'll be able to lean on that and it will get you through it.
Yeah, I will add to that. We have 3 main products. So in recovery, it's all about efficiency. So we've done a Forrester report, we've calculated ROI, and we know that it's more than 300% over 3 years when using this tool for recovery. And there's a lot of good quotes from customers on that. That's one of them that Kieran mentioned. The other one is in migrate. So a customer that has used us for the migration told us face to face, do you know how much money and time you saved me? You cut me half of the migration time or more. And 80% of the people that I was going to hire to run the migration, I didn't have to hire them. That's huge. And the incident response space is just mean time to resolution, directly tied to revenue. So if you resolve the incident 30% quicker, how much money is that worth to your organization? If you're an enterprise, huge, it's a lot of money.
That's what plays out like when I talk to ops leads or CFOs in customer organizations. So are these the metrics that you go ahead with, or are there anything else related to the business that you would also look after?
Absolutely. We look at those metrics. Obviously, there are specific metrics for each use case. So you look at an application and you think about the recovery of an application or migration, or if you resolve an incident, there's different things you measure, but ultimately it's down to speed, downtime, errors, and efficiency. And you can easily quantify that.
One of the things I learned about metrics is, yes, there are technical metrics and business metrics, but there's also, short-term metrics like what's happening today, what's happening tomorrow, things like that, and then the long-term strategic, like is it cutting down a weekend from my customer's team, right? So that really resonates. I think it's really important to keep both in balance. Coming to long-term and the future, I think the pace is crazy, right, in this space, especially with AI and agentic. I mean, today we are talking about agentic. You never know what happens in the next 18 months. Like, it'll be something else. What is your North Star, Kiran, for the next 18 months in terms of evolving your product, delivering good customer experience?
So continuing on simplicity and psychological safety for our customers. So I think that is the North Star. So how can we make processes easier, more repeatable, and safer? And as long as we're doing that, we will use whatever technology is available in 18 months' time. If that's AGI and we can use natural language to solve migrations, incidents, or something else, we'll be there and meet the market with it.
That's great. So, Elad, as you plot your growth curve at Cutover, or Cutover's growth curve, right? What businesses do you see are ripe for what you're building?
I think that first of all, when we venture into the worlds of migration, incident response, and even recovery, it's pretty horizontal. Any enterprise that has critical applications cares about those things. We know it for a fact, and we see it in our pipeline. So I'm definitely excited about that. When customers choose to migrate, it's a good point in time because they look at their estate, they reevaluate things, and they're rethinking resilience and incident response. And it's a great point in time to introduce all of our products, right? So I'm really excited about that. More specifically, in the whole space, I'm waiting for better AI agents that are specific to carry out specific pieces of work and look at different parts of the IT estate of our customers. The more those vendors that are the first choice in different areas, like observability, for example, the more they have better agents for us that are trained on data, and they can expose them to their customers or to an endpoint, which is a Cutover runbook or an API, the more we can help our customers derive insights from them to carry out critical piece of work. So I'm excited to see, I want to see that development cycle accelerating for those vendors and those agents become more and more available and easy to integrate to and with.
Yeah.
And learning with Kieran's great guidance how to leverage them in our products for the sake of our customers.
That's beautiful. Specialized agents available for you to partner with for driving outcome for your customers through your product, right? So I think that's a very modern pattern, if you'd like, and I think that's the viable pattern for delivering AI success, right? Okay, nice. I love this kind of conversation because we can balance the tech and the business and see how you evolve products and grow them. And that's the reason we do this AWS for Data show. Not only, yes, we talked about AI, agentic AI, but we talked about data challenges, what kind of business challenges you could face while you go to customers with this kind of products. Kiran, I'm sure our viewers would want to reach out, deep dive into some of your architecture, what you're doing in your product. How can they reach out to you?
Very happy to field questions. So you can email me at kieran@cutover.com. We'd be happy to do something. Hopefully information's available on the website, but yeah, we're looking for feedback and we'll get a member of the team to dive deeper on the architecture if that's something that's of interest.
We can do a follow-up later on in another session, like getting through your architecture? Like there are technical sessions dedicated in AWS as well, where we can like talk just pure deep dive into your technical, the technical nuances in your product, right? That would be really good. For customers who are looking to buy, want to build with Cutover, what is the process? How does it work? If you can elaborate a bit, that would be great.
Sure, it's a very straightforward enterprise buying cycle.
Yeah.
But I know that in the enterprise space, customers want to feel it before they buy it, right? So for that, we actually built 2 workshop studios with AWS, one for recovery and one for migrate. We can give easy access to our customers or prospects that are interested in that. Just reach out through our account team. We'll make sure you can have that. That could be a great POC. And if it's anything outside of that, or it's something a bit about a hybrid estate, we can run our own POC as well with the help of your AWS account team. So very used to doing that, and it could run throughout the course of a day or a week, depending on your success criteria. After that, give you a quote and get into a legal negotiation, which we all love.
Oh, absolutely. Kiran, thank you very much for coming here, joining and sharing your story with us in this conversation. I really loved it. I'm sure when it's out, our audience will love it too. Thank you very much for joining.
Thanks so much. It's great talk.